Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Your Mark on the World show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and our guest today is Melody Brenna. She's the CEO and founder of Reef Life Restoration. Melody, welcome to the show.
Hello, Devin.
So you're joining us from the aquarium, right?
Yes, the Living Planet Aquarium in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Wow, I've never had a shark on the show before. This is a first.
I know, and there's all kinds of sea creatures back here.
Yes, so I didn't mean to suggest you were the shark.
Okay, all righty.
So, Melody, tell us about Reef Life Restoration.
Okay, 8 years ago, we had a company in Amarillo, Texas called Milestone Architectural, and we cast architectural wonders, arches and columns, and shipped them all over the world. And at that time, nobody knew much about reefs or how things worked underneath the water. And we got a call from Florida, some reef people, and they said, why in the world aren't you paying attention to casting elements for under the water? And we thought, wow, what an interesting thought process, because the matrix of how the water works is very delicate, so you can't just toss any old thing in the water. But the coral reefs need a structure when they spawn to land on. So we started 8 years ago coming up with the science for this.
So you're using nanotechnology combined with your casting technology to create new reef structures that grow and become living coral, right?
Yes, that's correct. And part of our structures have a different type of pH, and they can actually affect the pH of a region around a reef.
So how does your technology address all of these different problems?
It won't address all of them. We can't fix global warming. What we can do is put an artificial reef, an engineered reef structure next to a natural reef. And that can start to grow when that reef spawns. There are some marvelous TED Talks on this if somebody's interested. 75% of the coral reefs are dead and dying right now, so the time is imminent. But when corals spawn, which believe it or not is once a year, they're spawning together. And so these tiny eggs, which are the size of a poppy seed, are floating through the ocean, and they're looking for a substrate to land on. And this substrate that we have has these little tiny cells in it, what we call a marine cell matrix. And it can hold that egg and give it a baby bed, if you will, so that it's protected from the predators that would come eat it before it got a chance to grow.
So which of the problems that you enumerated for us does your technology help to address?
Well, we're not going to ever cure global warming with a new reef. All of us in the universe are going to have to figure this out. What pollution are we not going to put in the water? However, one of the walls that we have is called a toxic absorption fence. And all of these are on our Reef Life website, so people can look it up and see. But let's say there was a mercury spill off the coast of an island, and they wanted to pull that spill up. Well, in order to get it up from the spill, those tiny mercury droplets are going to wash towards the shore. If they had an absorption fence between the spill and the shore, that fence is going to hold those mercury particles so it doesn't reach the shore.
That's great. That's great. Now, one of the things that you can do is to take your old technology, right, for building beautiful structures and put them underwater with your reef technology as well to create growing, living museums underwater, right?
Yes. In fact, there was something incredible on the web last night of somebody saying, imagine having a dive with the pharaohs. Somebody building old Egypt underwater. Because we can cast architecturally, that we can do a dive reef that's closer to a resort, because part of the wonder of reefs is tourism. And so many of these smaller communities need the tourism to come, because that's part of Fiji, Australia. The tourism is a mandate. So if we can build a beautiful dive reef next to a resort that's not going to hurt the natural reef, then people can come enjoy themselves on that dive reef. And that's part of the wonder of being able to cast something.
So what's your connection to the concern about the welfare of the reefs? I get that you have the ability, but why do you care about these things, to devote so much of your time and attention to this now?
It's an interesting thought, and somebody asked me that the other day, and I'm going to hark back to my dad a little bit. And the reason we care about this is fifth graders. And he had this marvelous saying, and he said, the fifth graders are taking over the world. And I had no idea, what in the world is he talking about? And now that I'm a mom, I get it. If a fifth grader in the Philippines or off the Kalifi coast of Africa or in San Antonio, Texas, or wherever this fifth grader is, has a good meal, a healthy meal, and a good sleep, and they can rock their math test tomorrow, that's why we're doing it. And if that fifth grader has his fifth grader in the same way, these brilliant fifth graders are going to solve whatever problems come their way.
Well, we thank you very much for being on the show today. Melody, before you go, tell us how people can learn more about reef life restoration and connect with you.
Our website is great. It's reefliferestoration.com. And there's buttons to find engineers, there's buttons to find artists, there's buttons to find scientists, so they can get on there and click a button and go straight to a scientist and say, here's my problem, help me solve it.
Fantastic. Well, again, Melody, we appreciate you taking the time to be with us today, and we wish you every success in restoring the world's reefs.
Thank you, Devin.
All right.
Thank you so much.